She was like, I don't want you to freak out, but I'm just letting you know that your pee did test positive for meth. Hey everyone, so much anticipated video. I have my birth story I'm going to be telling you guys today. Baby Aurora is finally here, and she was born November 5th. Easily one of the hardest things I've ever done. I just start off by saying, obviously I knew it was going to be painful. How do I explain this? Nothing went the way that I was hoping it would go. At the end of the day, I'm beyond grateful and happy to be able to take home a beautiful baby girl, and unfortunately she was in the NICU for a couple days. As far as the timeline goes, it's been over a week now, and I just wanted to take some time to spend obviously some time with baby and just kind of get into the routine of things before I started to make videos again. She was born on Friday, November 5th. Wednesday the 3rd at 9 a.m. my water broke. I had some idea it broke. Basically, I got up after peeing in a gush of what I thought was kind of pee. I'm not sure. Obviously this is my first time having a kid, especially because I stood up from peeing and it came out. I kind of just assumed it was pee. It wasn't yellow, it was like clear with some white. TMI. Like, woke up, my boyfriend was like, hey, I think my water broke, I'm not too sure. Me being me, I didn't want to like rush to the hospital and be like, oh my god, I think my water broke. Her due date was October 29th, so she was already past due at that point. It went on throughout the day. I was leaking a little bit, but I honestly just assumed it was just discharge. Another TMI, but we're talking about a birth here, so it's gonna be lots of TMI. I'm not getting any contractions. I'm not sure, like, let's wait it out a little bit. Which, lesson learned on that. Called my doctor around like 4, and I just like, hey, my water might have broken. I've been leaking all day, kind of, I'm not sure. And they're like, you need to go to the hospital ASAP. And I was like, oh, LOL. So actually, after we called the doctor, we did go to Yard House and eat. I was like, I really don't think it's my water. I don't want to go to the hospital and then be like, your water didn't break, sorry, and then send me home. So we went to Yard House, then we went home. We kind of were like just taking our time, you know, just making sure we have everything. So we get to the hospital. It was like around 8:30. They tested my fluid to see if it was from my amniotic sac. It obviously did come back positive, and my cervix was still, I was not dilated at all still. That was pretty crappy. And I did already have an induction date for Friday. Basically, my water had already broken for like 12 hours. So they're like, oh shit. We didn't get a room until like 12 or 1. I guess they were busy, I don't know, but we were in triage for a little bit, and then they sent us to, you know, a labor and delivery room. They gave me the pill, the induction pill, at like 2 a.m. on Thursday the 4th. So that's when I consider my labor to start. I don't know, I guess you consider my labor to start when my water broke on Wednesday. And also, I was like not gonna have an epidural. I was so set on not having an epidural. That changed. Just slow, barely dilating. I was at like 1 centimeter dilated for like forever, it seemed like. Yeah, contractions. How do I explain contractions? I've heard that when they induce you, they do feel stronger, and they are a little bit stronger. I don't know how accurate that is. I do know that I felt like someone was taking a hot iron to my uterus. Felt like I was being gutted alive. I tapped out, I think, at like 3 centimeters dilated. And that was around like 4 or 5 o'clock. The pain, I couldn't anymore. I was like, there's no way. If this is 3 centimeters dilated, there's no way in hell I am making it to 10, especially because it was just such a long process and I was dilating super, super, super slow. I was honestly just so defeated in the fact that am disappointed in myself that I decided to get an epidural because I was so adamant about not getting an epidural. It was about like 6 o'clock where I finally decided to get the epidural. Well, I am terrified of just the thought of like a needle going into my back. I'm like bawling my eyes out. I didn't know, because I've never had an epidural, to let them know if you have like any back problems or whatever. So I have a really bad sciatic nerve on my right side. So of course, you know, my support team, which was my boyfriend and my sister, couldn't be in the room with me, so they had to leave, and it was just the nurse and then the anesthesiologist. She goes and does the epidural. As soon as she puts the needle in, could feel it, just the pain shooting right to my sciatic nerve. You have to sit still, and I'm like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. Ah, like the pain is right in my sciatic nerve. And they're like, why didn't you tell us you had a bad sciatic nerve? Because I didn't know. As far as like a birth plan goes, I didn't look up anything as far as epidurals go, because I wasn't planning on getting an epidural. But also they maybe should have asked, like, hey, do you have any back issues that we should know about? I'm in pain. I'm not gonna be here like, oh yeah, by the way, I've got a sciatic nerve. And of course, because of course, once the dominoes start falling down, they start tumbling. She did the epidural wrong, or maybe it was because of my sciatic nerve, but basically only the right side of my body was numb. And the contractions almost felt worse, because it was literally, you could just feel it only on the left side. And of course she had to pull the epidural out and redo it. That was scrumdiddlyumptious. They did have to put a catheter in me. My concern was having to take a poo. Your girl was a blubbering mess during this whole labor process. Like after that, I think because my body was more relaxed, the dilation was a little bit better. I don't remember exactly, but it was like 5 to 7 in the morning, I would say. Checked me and I was finally 9-10 centimeters dilated. And as soon as she said that, I was like, all right, this baby's gonna come out in the next hour. And also just like didn't get any sleep, because obviously the nurse is coming in and checking you, doing cervical checks, seeing how dilated you are. All my nurses were just so amazing. I've heard horror stories about people who had like horrible nurses. If you guys didn't know, I am a vegan, so they kept bringing me food. I couldn't eat it though, so I really didn't eat anything within that whole 3-day span of me being in labor, because I kind of didn't think I could eat. Towards the end of my labor, like towards Friday, I was really weak and worn out, and those contractions take a big toll on you. Even though I was 10 centimeters dilated, my cervix was still super high, Aurora was still super high apparently. So what they had me do, kind of lay on my side, and they had like a little like peanut yoga ball in between my legs to try to push her down more before the doctor came. Reason why I was pushing for 3 hours. Honestly, towards the end, it is a little bit of a blur, just because there's just so much going on. Because my water was already broken for 48 hours, I was kind of getting towards the high risk of like infection, and I did end up getting a fever. The end was the worst, because really like hadn't eaten. I'd just been in the hospital for so long, having literally no energy to push. I just remember I just like started getting a really bad headache, getting nauseous, and obviously starting to run a fever. I was just like shaking uncontrollably. Like I literally couldn't stop shaking. I was like, there's no way I'm doing this. There's no way. So they had to put me in an oxygen mask. So the doctor finally comes, and you know, apparently she's like, you're not breathing right. And I just felt so defeated, because I'm like, I have no energy. Like I'm not able to even eat ice chips because I'm nauseous, and they have to like cool me down with washcloths. I was a mess. I was just so adamant also about not pushing on my back, because I know as far as like gravity goes, it's like one of the worst positions to push in to begin with. But obviously because I had the epidural, I was like, okay, like I kind of like have to push this way. So much effort where I didn't have any more energy to give it my all. So they did have to vacuum her out along with me pushing. Finally pushed her out. I didn't even know she came out. And they're like, oh, she's here, you did it. And then just like put her on, and obviously it was just like bawling my eyes out because I'm like, holy shit, it's finally done and over with. But fortunately, because I was sick, she did have to go in the NICU for, they said, at least 24 to 48 hours. Oh, I'm also missing the best part of all this. The very beginning, when we first got into the labor and delivery room, they tested my pee and triage, and the first nurse came in and said, hey, you know, it was really late at night because obviously they gave me the pill at like 2 a.m. but like I was hooked up to stuff, so anytime I had to pee, you literally had to call a nurse. She was like, I don't want you to freak out, but I'm just letting you know that your pee did test positive for meth. And mind you, this is like probably 3 or 4 in the morning, and I'm like, I'm sorry, what did you just say? My pee tested positive for meth? Question mark. Sometimes if you take like certain pills or like herbal teas, it can trigger the meth positivities in the pee or whatever. That was embarrassing because obviously I don't do meth. That was another issue, I think, for having to take her to the NICU. Obviously the main issue being because I was ill and just wanted to make sure she doesn't fall ill. Okay, this girl tested positive for meth, so let's make sure we don't send her home with a crackhead. Obviously I don't do meth. Because I was sick at the end of my labor, I could not see her for the first 24 hours. That was like one of the hardest things. She was born right at 41 weeks, so for 41 weeks I've been growing our kid, our little child, inside of me, and I couldn't even like bond with her. You know, they had me on antibiotics, they had me on Tylenol. For pain, they gave me like fentanyl. My body was just worn out to the max. My boyfriend went to the NICU with Aurora, so I'm just grateful that he was able to go in there. There were still some issues once I gave birth and she went to the NICU. I did have a 2nd-degree tear. They started to give me Pitocin to like help the uterus contract. Everyone pretty much just left the room. My sister's in there and like 2 other nurses. I just started getting an excruciating pain. Like it felt like I was giving birth to another baby. Like at that point they were already having the epidural wear off. It was just as bad as the contractions, the pain. It ended up being because I had to pee really bad. I didn't know what was going on. I thought it was because of the Pitocin, and I was like, get me off this fucking Pitocin. Like I can't take this pain. I felt like I was gonna die if I had to go through any more pain. Like my body was just completely worn out. Girl, what you doing? Bottle break for a second. They had to recatheter me because I was in excruciating pain because I had to pee. My sister almost fainted from how much pee that came out of me. It was a full bag and she almost had to grab another bag. That was really painful. Obviously they wheelchaired me to the recovery room. I spent 24 hours there. They were gonna keep me for 48 hours and I was like, there's no way I can stay here for 48 hours. I don't even have my baby. I'm going crazy. It was just really hard. My concern was, you know, my baby's not even gonna know who her mom is because I haven't even been able to see her the first 24 hours. I haven't even been able to hold her. I haven't even been able to do skin to skin. You just feel so empty. You know, you're already in so much pain from trying to recover. You're bleeding, you're in really shitty hospital diapers, can still barely get up, you're uncomfortable. But would I do it again? 110%. I wouldn't have changed it for the world because it gave me my little bean. Aurora ended up staying in the NICU for about 4 days because she got jaundice, had to be under the photo light. They tested her pee for meth. She wasn't running a fever. She's perfectly healthy. Keep her an extra day to observe, and then we were able to take her home on Tuesday. We had the most amazing NICU nurses as well. It being the NICU, you know, you had to wear like a gown to be able to hold her. It was really sad going in there, and there are obviously babies in there a lot worse than Aurora. It was still sad going in there and holding her and not being able to take her home. You know, my heart goes out to all moms who have to go through having their baby in the NICU. Honestly, I'm grateful that ours was just 4 days, but she's home now and she's got vitamin D that she's taking for her jaundice. That is pretty much my labor and delivery stories. 34 hours in labor, 3 hours pushing. And baby Aurora came Friday, November 5th at 12:26 p.m. I hope you guys enjoyed that little story time. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. I hope you guys stick around for more. But thank you guys so much, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.